All right. Watch out, arcade machine. Oh man, it's been a long time since we've been in here. Welcome back to Rob's Arcade, everybody. We're gonna go ahead and just grab us a little seat right over here on our couch. Uh, Hopefully everybody has been doing well. Just trying to get a little situated here, and then we will jump right into the show today. Happy Easter, by the way, to everybody. Hopefully, everybody had a great Easter weekend. It is, in fact, right now Easter Sunday. I'm just kind of hanging out. Good morning to you all. Cheers. Got my coffee, my banana, my yogurt, and we are just hanging out. Looking forward to actually doing nothing today, even though it is Easter Sunday. Um, I know a lot of you guys are doing some traveling, getting together with some family, so please be safe, have a good time. Wishing you all a very safe and happy Easter. I myself, I've been asked a couple of times, like, what are your plans tomorrow? We're closed today. Everybody's off. Everybody's got the day off. So everybody's been like, what are you doing? What you got any plans for the weekend? And I said no, and I was 100% excited about that and looking forward to that. I couldn't be happier. In fact, I made sure I went to the grocery store Friday night. Friday was it's been a long week. It's been a long couple of weeks. It's been a long couple of months. Uh, but I wanted to make sure when I got off of work on Friday, I got everything I needed to get done, and could enjoy, could enjoy my time off this weekend. I actually got 2 days off in a row, which is something else I haven't been able to do. In fact, I felt kind of bad. I was like, wait a minute, I haven't been doing 6 days because I mentioned something about that. And I was like, no, I was off on Wednesday, right? And then I thought about it. And I was like, well, no, to get that, I had to work like a bunch of days in a row. And I've been trying to get my staff off. And typically, myself, I don't really work a lot of Sundays, but I've been working some Sundays trying to make sure that, those who work for me get nice and rested and make sure they get the stuff that they need to get done. It's time with their families. But it's led to a couple of weeks of some wonky schedules, some 6 day weeks, and I am pretty spent. And everybody's like, well, don't you want to hang out with your family and see all the kids and all of that and the uncles? And I'm like, no, don't. I've seen enough aunts and uncles all week long. I've seen enough kids, and that sounds awful. There's actually a guy I work with. It's a great He's a great guy, older gentleman. I love him to death, and he's single. Um, Probably a good 10 years or so older than myself. But him and I, man, we vibe. We were talking about it last night as we were closing up, and I was, saying, I'm not really doing anything. I want to do like a service or anything for Easter. There's a lot of options online. I've got a friend of mine who has shared her online service before in the past. So if that's something I want to check out, I was like, hey, I can do that at home with my coffee. And I told him, I said, I've been around kids and families all week, man. I said, I'm burnt out. And I was like, I know that sounds bad. And he said right away, no, you are not wrong. I said, I feel the exact same way, dude. Because I've been around these kids, these families all week. Because I don't want to see them. I don't want to do anything. Like I don't need. And it's supposed to be nasty, a little rainy today. So just another reason to stay inside, put my feet up, and just relax. Video game controller in hand, and that's not going to change. That's going to be going on all day long. We're going to be hanging out. I shared this story earlier. I'm going to go ahead and share it here as well. Um, it's just really ironic, like the timing of things and how things work out. And I was kind of on the fence about downloading a new X-Men or Marvel collections of retro games from the 90s. And I was pretty certain I would. And it was a pretty good price for quite a few titles and quite a few um, releases for each title. You know, you got some Sega releases, some Super Nintendo. There's a couple of handheld releases. Um, so it was a pretty good selection of games, and I was like, I haven't um, thought about it, but I remember getting an X-Men game for Easter back in like 1993, and I think it would kind of signify like the last time I'd like parent. Well, I shouldn't say the last time my parents got me an Easter basket. I think my mom's got me an Easter basket in years since, but in that childhood, like that childhood era of being like a kid, I don't know. I feel like my parents after that would just get me cool stuff like games or things that I wanted, maybe some new shoes or like whatever I was into. But I just remember like the year 1993, my dad got me the X-Men video game for Easter, and something I've been begging for. Uh, since I could see like the release was coming up, they were doing all these really cool ads and magazines, and I'm sure there was a couple of commercials floating around. And I just remember like seeing it, like I guess probably going into like February, March as it was coming out for release, and Christmas had passed, my birthday had just come and gone, and so there wasn't really any reason for my dad to just run out and buy me a video game. It's like, and even back then, like video games were pretty expensive. Like they're expensive today, uh, but that hasn't changed. Like even back in the '90s, a Sega game can cost you anywhere from like 40 to $60. Most of my Sega CD titles ran to be about 55, $60. Some of them even, I think, were a little bit more pricey than that, depending on whether it was like a two-disc game or, um, just how popular or what the release was. So games weren't cheap. I mean, even like I picked up this collection of X-Men games for under $30, and back then, just trying to even find one Sega game for $30 was a pretty amazing find. So to get all these titles for like about 25, $30 is pretty amazing. But back in the day, a single title could run you like 50, $60, and so it's not like my dad could just run out and just grab me a video game just to grab me a video game. But I remember coming home that Friday after school, going into Easter, Easter Sunday, Easter weekend, and all, and sitting on our little end tables in the living room was an Easter basket for my sister and a little card. I think there was like a toy or something in there. I feel like there was something in her Easter basket. I don't want to say, I keep using this as a reference whenever I have been telling the story as of late, but I feel like it's like a Barbie doll in there or something like that. But I know it wasn't Barbie, but it was probably something that she was into at the time. And she had that in her Easter basket, and I didn't get a basket. I just got a card, and then the um, X-Men video game that I wanted for Sega. And at first, it's funny. I remember being kind of disappointed at first, like walking in and being like, "Wait, where's my Easter basket?" And my dad being like, "Are you kidding me right now with this? Like, this is all you've been wanting for the last few weeks, and you're like, where's my Easter basket?" And it's like, and he broke it down for me he's like, pretty quickly. He goes, I could spend $50 on candy in a basket for you, or I could have gotten you this video game. And right away, I mean, like that logic, I was just like, oh my God, that's genius. Like I said, I feel like starting then and going forward, that was kind of the modus operandi, if you will. I know I said that completely wrong. Don't worry. But I kind of feel like that was just like his, like why am I going to spend a ton of money on candy and junk that's not going to last an afternoon when I can get him something really cool that he's really going to enjoy. And I got a really fun story involving that. Hopefully, you've tuned into the gameplay of the X-Men arcade, where I share some more detail into all that and what that looked like. But that was a very interesting, and still to this day, one of my most memorable video game experiences on the Sega Genesis. I absolutely love that title, and it was just again like it was revolutionary. Like, you had to, and I mentioned this before too in some of the earlier videos I did this weekend. Sometimes buy a magazine or a guide just to, like get to that next. Um, so is that like Scooby Doo and Shaggy in that car? That's interesting. You would have to buy like a magazine just to get to that next piece and figure out that next part. Nowadays, it's a lot of like looking at videos and watching YouTubes and stuff like that. But back in the day, you might buy a video game and get kind of stuck for a few weeks and trying to figure out, like, well, okay, what do I do next? And then all of a sudden, GamePro or something like that would put out a walkthrough, and you'd be like, oh, I need to get $5 together to buy this magazine so I can have this walkthrough and figure this out. I remember X-Men being one of those titles where not only did it have a really cool um, a little trick, a little hint that you needed help with, but there was also a really neat walkthrough that kind of showed you like, all right, this is how you get to. I think it was Apocalypse had a really fun hidden like final boss level where just to even get to him, it was kind of like a secret. Um, I feel like there was some stuff with like Mojo's level. I think there was some cool stuff with Nightcrawler where they showed you a couple spots that you could like literally stand in and kind of like bypass the whole level. Because you could get like kind of like teleport with him, and his teleportation was kind of sporadic. But it was one of those things like if you stand here and hit the button just right and do this and do that, then you can pretty much bypass the level. But that was one of those games where I remember like you kind of needed a magazine to kind of help you to get through that, especially as a teenager. I mean, I'm sure like there were some experienced gamers out there that knew exactly what they were doing. Uh, but as being a 13-year-old kid, those Game Pros, EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthlies, and tips and tricks really came in handy. And even to this day, I feel like I need walkthroughs and help. I'm not like the best gamer, uh, but I give it my best shot, people. But even today, I kind of feel like God, I would love a good magazine, just a nice. They had what was it, Brad? Was it Brad? Oh man, I want to say Bradley, but there was like a strategy guide company, um, and it seems kind of like a cheap maneuver, like, oh, well, how can you get more money out of people? But I mean, I remember having like a strategy guide for games like Shenmue, some of the Resident Evil titles, some of the Zelda titles on Nintendo 64 and GameCube. And I mean, there were companions, man. You kind of like really needed those in order to get through the games and really, really enjoy them. But that's going to be today, man. I'm gonna be getting my game practice in for sure. And I got some really cool ideas coming up, like some nerd challenges for myself. Um, I got really excited seeing the new Spider-Man trailer coming out, and that just led me to like, oh, let me dig through some Spider-Man comics. And then literally, like as I was going to bed the other night, I was like, oh man, should I read all 300 comics that I have? And it's even more than that. I don't know. I have like over 300 some comics. It's just Spider-Man. Um, I tried to do some counting and like it started to lose count. But that's going to be a challenge. I was like, that's a good challenge to read all my Spider-Man comics before I go see the new movie, um, or before the new movie like really comes out. Um, and then I've got some X-Men, Marvel titles, or not even X-Men, some like Spider-Man, Avenger titles, and then the X-Men collections that I just recently acquired. There's like Cosmic Invasion. There's a bunch of Marvel games, not only my collection, but that are also, getting ready to release. There's like a cool fighting tournament style kind of like fighter game coming out. It looks really amazing. And so I was like, I'm gonna do a run, I think, too, on just Marvel games in 2026. And I'm not saying I'm gonna dedicate the entire year to just Marvel games, but I think, we're still pretty fresh. We're only a few months into this new year, and I think that's gonna be my main focus. Um, so I think it's just, I don't know, it's just, I think it's gonna be really fun. I'm excited to get kind of back into the retro rewind weekends that I had been doing. And then I'm a little interested to see just how long I'll be able to dive into this online world of GTA, or if it's always going to be here, if it's just not going to be updated. I don't know how this is going to work. Again, PlayStation 4 has been in the talks of all of their services as far as like updates go and support for um, their different games and apps are going to stop here in the spring of 2026, and here we are. We're rolling into April, and so I'm kind of interested to see just exactly how far. I wonder if that picked up on the microphone. How far we're going to go into this year, into the spring, before all of this stuff actually starts to quit with this, you know, updates and maintenance and all. My cousin and I've been kind of talking about that. He's a big believer in not updating his systems, but then is often met with frustration when games start to come out and he can't get them or they can't be updated and all of that. I think his biggest thing was, I think, a huge sports guy, so it's like the new 2Ks and the Maddens and all the whatever start coming out, he can't get them because they're not even doing like PS4 releases on a lot of this stuff. So even if he wanted to, he can't acquire this stuff. And it's funny, man. I mean, I feel like we've been going back and forth for like over a year now. I'm like, dude, you need to update. You need to get on the ball. And it's, oh no, it's fine. It's good. I don't need to. Everything is good. And then it was, um, his floor started giving him. Oh man, I don't have any. I can't update. I don't have any room. I can't do that. I gotta delete this. I gotta delete that. And I'm like, dude, you need to update. It's like, no, no, it's all good. And now I guess and I didn't want to. And I was kind of thinking it. I mean, I was like, at the back of my brain, I'm thinking like, well, it can't go on forever. Like at some point they're gonna stop it, and then what are you gonna do? Um, when he had his first child, I was like, dude, that's when you hit him up. You hit up the in-laws. You hit up somebody and say, hey, man, my boy needs a new system. Like this isn't for me. This is for my kids. But now I feel like it's a little too late for all that, and he's got other responsibilities and financial responsibilities to take care of. But it's like I knew it was going to happen. I knew at some point, the floor was just going to be a ghost. And I guess I never really thought about like the fact that they wouldn't keep doing dual releases. You have like a Spider-Man game comes out, or you know, Mortal Kombat or something. They're going to do like a 4 release, and they're going to do a 5 release at the same time. Uh, you've got your Fortnite on PS4 and you got your Fortnite on PS5, and you just kind of figure like no matter what comes out, they're just going to keep doing that. And I think him and I were both kind of like, what? Like, I think it was Madden. I think when Madden dropped, he couldn't pick up the new Madden. I think both of us were kind of like, whoa, hold on. What's happening? Is it happening now? Like, this when, is this when the system starts to become obsolete now? For sure, for sure. Uh, but yeah, I'm kind of wondering when when does that take effect? When is that going to start to shut down? And then it might just be something as, like I said, as simple as some of these like Monday motivations and monthly updates and stuff like that might just happen within the confines of just um, playing other titles, playing other games and stuff. So um, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. You know, it might be these Monday motivations take place in New York City as I'm swinging through, you know, the streets trying to save the day. Or maybe I'll just have to post up somewhere in some GTA 5. But actually, I mean, 6 will be here before we know it. I don't know what that's going to look like with the online and if that will allow me something in the same format. But I just do really enjoy this format. Like I said, I keep going back to this time and time again. I know I got away from this for a while, but just this, you know, virtual version of myself and this avatar in this world and all. It's just like the perfect way to kind of like I feel like do like a face to face with you guys, but at the same time kind of keep it in that Rob's Arcade kind of that kind of fashion of video games and chat and talk and all that. And speaking of, like I said, it's been a long week, so to be able to hang out and chat and just play video games is something I've definitely been looking forward to. Spring break, man. Like I said, if I don't have to do um, another like visitor pass or if I don't see one more middle schooler coming in with all of his friends to play basketball that none of them have an account with us. But no, I'd tease, but I'd rather them be inside with us playing basketball, working out, doing, even running back and forth up and down the hallways, being loud with their chips and their drinks, making a mess everywhere. I'd rather them be doing that than outside, getting into trouble, getting into shit. Um, it's actually really sweet. Like when I even go there myself to work out and do my me time, which I was surprised I had any energy to get that done yesterday. Like I said, I was so wiped. I literally came home and just like crashed for like an hour and a half, 2 hours when I got off of work and finally did everything I got. Which is again why I wanted to go to the grocery store tonight. I was like, I'm done. I'm going to pull the plug. Once I'm off the clock, I'm well, even not even that. Like I was like, once I'm done my workout, I'm just like I'm shutting down completely. We're pulling the lever on the reactor. Um, but yeah, I was so just exhausted when I got home um, yesterday. And like I said, a lot of it's just like just you see like a group of kids coming in, and it's just a lot of making notes and getting visitors passes and making sure that they're of age. A lot of conversations, a lot of kind of babysitting moments, and what have you. But sorry, just taking a sip of coffee there. But again, at the end of the day, I'd rather them be there, and it's just really nice to see them. Like I said, I'm just kind of hanging out, doing my me time, and it's a bunch of kids from my old club. They're kind of hanging out, working out, and it's just awesome knowing that they're there instead of really basically just doing the stupid shit that I was doing when I was that age. I think that's one of the things that I'm just really fortunate for. I kind of complain about the long weeks and how exhausted I can be and how draining it can be and make it kind of sound bad where it's like, oh man, I don't want to be around anybody. I spent all week being around people and being around families and kids and all that. And it's not to say anything bad and that I don't like it, but I think everybody needs some me time, needs a break, needs to unwind, decompress. And I really do though enjoy what I get to do. There's several high schoolers and middle schoolers and stuff that show up every day, and you start to build these bonds and relationships, and they become very important to you. And you do feel like a sense of protection and making sure that they're safe and making sure that they're good, they're taken care of, and they they respond to that so well. You realize sometimes these kids might not be getting the attention and stuff that they need at home. Parents are busy, and it's just so many things happening. There's a couple of young guys that come in all the time, and actually I was able to speak with one of the moms the other day. He checked in, and I was like, "Yo, is this mom?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I was going to email you about this guy right here." And she looked at me for a minute and was kind of like, "Oh, that's my alarm going off. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up." Um, but well, I ended on this note. But she was like, "What happened?" I was like, "No, he's. I'm not supposed to have favorites here, and we're supposed to treat all of our youth the same." But I was like, this young man and his friend are two of my favorite guys around here. So well respected, or just respectful, and just well mannered, and um, just a pleasure to see them, each and every day. And I give them a hard time about, keeping me busy, and don't you guys have anything else better to do than be in here giving me something, but I genuinely look forward to seeing them all the time, and just glad that they're able to have a place to go. And so it's a really cool thing that what I'm able to do, and it is a long week. It makes for long days, and you can get a little drained, a little worn out, but it is a really cool vibe. Like said that you got a space where these kids can kind of come, be themselves, and just kind of hang out, and their parents, can rely on us to keep them safe and protected, and help them grow. Well, anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap up this piece. I'm gonna jump into some video games. I'm gonna hang out. I'm gonna be back tomorrow and actually do like an actual Monday motivation jump into April kind of update thing. So until then, make sure you share, subscribe, leave me a little comment down below. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you take care of each other. Until next time, don't spend that quarter anywhere else. Later, guys.